watching INCRadio.
INCRadio, Central Valley, California. From the sandbox playdates to iPad kids, landline calls to DMs. How much has technology really changed the way we grow up? Are kids and even their parents missing out on essential experiences, or is technology shaping a new kind of community for today? Today, we have another episode of our Tech and Tradition series where we're going to be talking about the digital divide and finding the right balance between screen time and family time. Today, I'm joined by the Carlos family. Go ahead and say hi, everyone.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Carlos family, thank you so much for joining us on our episode today. And we're very excited to hear your stories and to share your experiences when it comes to striking the balance of screen time and family time. But before we begin, as always, we're going to go ahead and ask everyone to please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notification bell so you can stay tuned in on everything INCRadio, Central Valley, California, home of the Valley Grown, where conversations feel like home. And to begin our conversation, so the way that this discussion is going to happen today is we're going to be looking back before technology was prominent in our lives to the society today, where technology does play an influence in all of our lives. And so actually, I'm going to go ahead and start this conversation with Norley and Shelane, and I want to go ahead and talk about the pre-tech era as per se, right? You know, growing up as kids, I know for me, it was more like definitely like sandboxes, hanging out with our neighborhood kids. So I want to go ahead and ask you guys, what was that experience like growing up? And what are some stories that you want to share with our audience today?
Start off with my experience. We just growing up, you wouldn't have technology. So I remember just going places, traveling, just having to buy a map and actually looking at the map, then writing down actually where you're going to go, making sure that you would look through the map. And if you had any stops, you would put it on, you would write it down as well. But just that growing up was it was a good experience to be able to maneuver a map versus your Google Maps. But that's the things that we had to go through.
Yeah, so growing up without technology, I think it was really fun. Most of the time I was out with my friends outside. We were running around barefooted. We were going to each other's houses. I remember watching, going to my friend's house just down the street, watching one of those movies. I don't really remember, but then we used to always play Monopoly. We would go to our other friend's house and we would play slip and slide. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was really cool. And we just knew to go home when the sun was going down. I mean, we were always outside, and I remember our garage always open. It was never closed because it just felt so safe.
And you know, I'm so glad you bring up the whole when the sun goes down, it's time to go home thing, because that's how a lot of our generation definitely gauged the time to go home, and especially with how we didn't have cell phones yet. For me, I think that my first cell phone was like a Nokia phone, so I couldn't even text my mom where I'm at, right? So, and now I want to go ahead and talk about the simplicity of childhood, right? I think it's very we take it for granted how simple our childhood could be, right? And so, how has that simplicity in our childhood impacted our socialization skills, creativity, and even our mental well-being growing up as kids? Shalene, I'll start with you.
So I would say that the relationship we built with each other is really real because we are physically with each other. We are talking amongst each other, sharing stories amongst each other. So it just felt more real, and I don't feel like you had to hide behind a phone or a computer to communicate with with your peers at that time, and you just built a very strong bond. So it was. What do you think?
I totally agree. Growing up with my friends through high school, I think I had a better connection with them. Of us back then didn't have phones, but we have this yearly hangout where we gather and stuff, but we still gravitate to each other and speak really well. But it's funny that all of us, we're not that tech savvy and we don't use our phone that much. But when we come together, it's that bond that we built back then when we were in high school. It's brought back now when we're older, but I think it's a greater connection.
So, what's one experience that you've had as kids that you for sure know that your kids haven't experienced yet?
Oh my goodness, I would say the phone that hung on that hung onto I don't even know what they're called now, but you would get that phone and bring it everywhere around you to talk to your friends. They don't have that experience. They don't have that cord because everything's cordless.
Or the beeper. Everybody had those beepers to kind of yeah.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard of those beepers in so long.
Yes, and the way you would communicate is like HELLO, but in numbers, right? And
because there was no texting back then.
Yeah, that's how we would text. We would use numbers to actually spell out words. And you know what? How about the phone, the phone that you would make collect calls on?
Yeah.
I remember having that phone in front of our high school, and I would just call my mom, collect, and be like, "Mom, I'm coming home later," and that was my form of communication to her. So yeah, different, very different.
I know one of the comments in our comment section mentioned about they still have to memorize phone numbers.
Yes.
Even today, right? But imagine back then, though. Norley and Sheila, I don't know if you remember having to keep a physical contact book. I don't know if that's something that you guys used back in the day. Was that something that you guys used?
Yes, you'd have to write down all your friends' numbers. But not only that, I think back then too, there was a lot of writing involved, and I don't see that now. There's a lot more typing and a lot more, using the thumbs versus the whole hand. And I think back then we had really great penmanship because you were taught calligraphy, you were taught cursive, and now it's just let me see how fast I can type.
I think also you would just memorize those special numbers that you would call a lot, so that still sticks in my head from back then. I still know our phone number, or one of my friends' number. I can't forget that because I used to always dial it. So yeah.
And so now we talk about our experiences, right? Growing up as kids, the struggle, I will say, of trying to stay in constant communication with our parents. I'm now going to go ahead to ask the kids, Luke and Olivia, here about their experiences. So Luke, Olivia, I'm going to go ahead and ask the same question to you guys now. What's it like growing up in today's age of kids? So Luke, I'll go ahead and ask you first.
I'd like to start off by saying, compared to the stories that my parents have said right now, that meeting people is so easy compared to back then. Because going back to what they said about, memorizing phone numbers, collect calls, beepers, using numbers to like text each other, nowadays it's easy. I could just send them a thumbs up emoji or text them how I want. Or, I could tell my dad 5 minutes before I'm out of school, "Oh, hi, Dad, can you pick me up, please?" And it's easier. And adding on to that, I feel like it's easier to, meet new people or talk to new people and friends.
I want to add to that because I pick him up a lot after school, and then I'll say, "Hey, Luke," because I'll take a snapshot of where I'm at. I'm parked right here, and he goes exactly where I'm parked. It makes it so convenient.
And you know, it's crazy too, because then I remember as a kid having to tell my mom, meet me at this store at the corner, please. I'm gonna be here at this time. If you're not there, I'm gonna get lost. And so I resonate with that a lot. I really do. And Olivia, now I'm gonna ask you, okay? So what's it like? What's it like your everyday at school? What do you normally do?
I learn and I do scholastics and like I learn subtraction and math in
Oh.
class.
Well, that's awesome. How do you make friends at school?
I just ask them, "Do you want to be friends?" And they say yes.
I wish I had your confidence, Olivia, growing up. That wasn't me growing up. Do you happen to play games with your friends?
Yeah.
What kind of games do you play?
I play Roblox, Dodo Queen, Going Balls.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you would say that you have some pretty cool friends, huh? Yeah. And so how often do you play games with your friends?
Usually I like text my mom and stuff, or I just play games until they text me back or something.
Okay. And Luke, what about you? What's your screen time, or how long do you usually spend time with your friends online?
Well, for social media, I try not to use it as much because I know like all the studies say, especially because my parents are in the medical field, they talk about all the bad things it could do to your brain. So, I just go on it sometimes to text if I need to. And then for video games, I only play a few specific video games that I really bond with my friends over because I feel like it makes it easier to talk to people I'm friends with if I have um a similar interest. And I think that's cool.
And so now I'm going to go ahead and ask the same question I asked your parents earlier too. What are some unique experiences or things that you do as kids nowadays that your parents might not be able to understand? Luke, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so, right now I believe that it's like so much easier to meet more people, especially with online. Like I could meet somebody across the United States or even across the world and just share a bond over a similar interest. And I think back in the day, it was harder because I heard about pen pals and things like that. But I'm pretty sure it's much more convenient now to just shoot a text and it'll send directly to the phone compared to waiting a few months, maybe even to get a letter back.
It's so true. I used to buy stamps because I would have a pen pal and send that letter to them, and I would wait weeks for my letter to come back. So very different.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the in between because I was in between the whole pen pal phase and then the technology phase, connecting with people from around the world. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in. The first way that I got to meet Kadiwas from across the world was through Kadiwa Life, and so I was really happy to be able to, and even with the activities that we've had, being able to meet brethren from around the world, it was awesome being able to connect with them in that way. And so, there's definitely the ways to bridge that communication over time, no matter what form of communication it is, right? Olivia, I'm going to ask you now the same thing. Okay, what's something that you do that as a kid that your parents haven't experienced as a kid?
Like texting and FaceTiming and stuff.
Yeah, who do you FaceTime a lot?
Like my brother, my friends, or my mom and dad.
Oh, okay. So I'm guessing that you FaceTime a lot with your family because you miss them, huh?
How about your cousins?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Who's your favorite cousin?
Uh-oh.
All of them.
All good answer,
answer.
Olivia.
Great answer, Olivia. And so, we're glad that whether old or young, the same the same mindset applies, right? And it's about that sense of community, the sense of being able to be engaged with one another. It's what really connects us in this world of technology today. And so now, before we continue with our discussion, I'm going to go ahead and actually read a couple of comments from our YouTube section. Or actually, Melly, if you could, please go ahead and read a couple of comments from our live chat today.
Of course. We love comments and we love our listeners and viewers out there. They're loving the discussion, by the way. So thank you for sharing. And Olivia, just like what Mark said, I love your confidence. I wish I was like that when I was younger. Maybe I'd had more friends. So first we have, of course, our usual viewers tuning in every single week. Daniel Glipai. Hello, Sister Caitlin. He said tuning in from the local of Orosi of CBC. Can't wait to see all of the hosts and staff of INCRadio CBC. Thank you so much. From Veronica De La Rosa. Good evening, Central Valley. I'm so happy to be here talking with you. I wouldn't have it any other way from Orosi Local. Thank you, Veronica. From Ruby De Los Reyes. Greetings from Delano. From William Dorsey, happy viewing from Delano as well. And of course, from Michael Sarmiento, happy watching and listening to all brethren from Riverbank District of CVC. From Brother Ben Fuente, happy viewing from Santa Maria. From Lolita Carlos, hello everyone, happy viewing from the local of Orosi. And Brother Rudolph asked here, sometimes I think, how did we survive without Google Maps or Apple Maps before? I don't know either, but we did. From Mario Oka, good day here in the Philippines. Enjoy watching here in INCRadio Central Valley, California Satellite Studio. Thank you, Mario Oka, for always tuning in. From Jovelyn Marilos, happy viewing from local of Delano. And was from Belisa Miranda. Hello, everyone. Happy viewing from Santa Maria. From Brother Edwin Racadio. Hello to all brethren in the District of Central Valley. From Michaela Badua. Not very good when it comes to memorizing numbers. From Anika Joy Fiesta. Hello, po, brethren. Happy viewing from Sister Aya from the local of Delano. From Brother Edwin again, he said, shout out to all the brethren in the local congregation of Lemoore. From Alex M. Childhood nowadays don't know how to handwrite back then it was mandatory to learn. Yes, I can relate. It was mandatory. I think a lot of even the cursive writing is fading away now. From Anna Heimbach, she said, hello, Norley and Shalani. What a beautiful family. Love you, brethren. From Ariela Camaquin, hello from San Diego County District. Shout out to Orosi. Avery says, hello, Manong Luke and Manong Liv. It means, because they're older. That's how it is in, what is it? No, not Kapampangan. Ilocano, right? I say Ilocano, yes. And last, we'll read more later on. So from Arnel Domingo, typewriter, if you made mistake, our backspace was the liquid paper. Oh yes, those old typewriters back in the days. Wait, that wasn't 10 key, that was what, 10 typewriter key or something like that. Oh man, it was hard, but yes, I too experienced that back in the days. All right, back to you, Mark. We have plenty more, but you know what? Let's go ahead and keep on discussing the topic tonight because it's so much fun.
Thank you, Melvi. And I want to go ahead and remind everyone again, there's so many ways that the older generation, the younger generation are connected when it comes to the experiences and the use of technology, right? But as we've heard before as well, in our comment section included, there is definitely a digital divide when it comes to the different eras and how the technology itself has played a part in the development of us as kids growing up, and even in today's society right now. And so I'm going to go ahead and start the conversation for everyone by asking this first question. So how do we navigate between this digital divide, between real relationships and online connections? I'll go ahead and start with Norley on this one.
It's really hard to. I mean, growing up without all the electronics, but I see the importance of it. I know with my family from down south, we have a group chat where it allows us to connect, and we couldn't do this back then, but we had to learn to adapt so that we could connect. And on a daily basis, we, we'll post birthdays or whatever on that family chat. Which brings the older generation with the new generation to be able to know each other's birthdays or whatever accomplishments that they had. We just recently posted, Luke had won a volleyball tournament, and we posted it there, and everybody in the family chat was congratulating, and that was really good.
Yay!
Yeah.
So,
Yay.
Sister Shalani.
Um, you know, it has its pros and cons, I think. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so relationship to me is more of actually being around people, actually talking, going to a coffee shop and talking. And nowadays, what I see is people go to a coffee shop and they're doing this. And sometimes I make fun of like Luke and his cousins because they're all together and they're doing this, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Saying hello, how are you? And the other person's saying, I'm fine, how's your coffee? Just different, just very different. But it does make it simple in the way that we are able to interact with each other a little bit more.
I think it's good in a sense that when you are far away from your family, it's a good tool to reconnect, to connect. But when it's with your immediate family and you guys are together, there should be time and place where you just put things away to not be so distracted and focus on each other's company.
Right.
So I do agree.
Yeah.
And I love it because in this sense, you're using technology to be able to maintain these meaningful relationships, both and even establishing times in person through technology to all the more keep that relationship alive and strong. And so, Luke, I'm going to ask you the same question now. How do you navigate between real life relationships and the online connections that you make? Because you mentioned that you have friends from all over.
Oh yeah. So, being part of this newer, younger generation, I am allowed to have the great privilege to, people from anywhere in the world. And I believe that I could have a strong bond and a connection with somebody that I've never met in real life if we have like same interests, but I obviously wouldn't feel as comfortable or as trustworthy with them as someone I would know personally in real life. And I believe that physical connection is more stronger than any other connection outside of that.
Like the distant connection, huh?
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, I know for the friends that I have around the world, I was actually fortunate enough through church activities to be able to meet some of them in person, and so knowing somebody over a screen versus knowing somebody face to face definitely holds volume, and that connection is all the more meaningful when you get to meet that person face to face. And so we talk about ways that we're leveraging technology sometimes to be able to keep these relationships alive. I want to go ahead now and actually ask, like, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing as a family when it comes to finding that right balance of technology?
Who wants to start? I think I'll start. So sometimes I see both of them doing this, and it's like they're brushing their teeth or they're eating and they're doing this, or it's like this, and it's like get off, and I always have to remind them, be in the moment, put that down, because that show that you're watching is never going to go away. You can always search it up. So we have a rule that when we eat dinner, no one's supposed to be on their electronics. And we set time limits, especially for the little ones. So sometimes it's like, okay, let's practice that, or let's go play a game, and then you can have some screen time. So that's kind of how.
I agree with that. And being in family practice, and we do counsel kids as well, seeing pediatrics or kids that aren't doing really well in school. And then you ask the mom, what are you doing? And then the mom or the parent says they're always on their phone. So we have to tell the patients, hey, you have to implement screen time, because this will affect them for their future. And it truly is, it will. And, I give a shout out to our foundation in church, because they're already teaching us to, be watchful, mindful, and always to actually oversee what our kids are doing and implementing screen time, because that truly, it can hinder somebody growing up, and it can hinder their future. It really can.
Just progression itself, you can waste so much time scrolling or whatever it is, and the productivity becomes a little bit limited.
Because you get so distracted and then you start putting in homework that has no quality because you've spent quantity of time on your screen. Then you turn in not, that's truly true. So we like to, yeah.
Or chores.
Or
Yeah,
chores.
chores needs to get done, so we need to get off our screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that we understand the challenges that come with, having technology in our lives, and of course the benefits that do come with the keeping our connections strong no matter where we're at, right? I'm actually going to go ahead and turn to the kids now to close out our show. Okay, so Luke, Olivia, I'll start with Luke first. Based on what your parents have shared, right? What is one way that you will all the more find the balance between screen time and family time?
Yeah, for me, what I try to do nowadays is I try to stay off my phone, especially during our family hour each night. And I think what really helps is not only the teachings that the church administration gives us, but also because of the fact that my parents are in the medical field, they could help implement what they learn from both the scriptures and from the medicine that they practice to our household. And I believe that it's such a great help, especially when it's time for me to get off my phone or get off anything I'm doing to actually focus on what I have to do, what's at hand, and what's in the moment.
And Olivia, now I'm going to ask you, how will you keep your older brother accountable for what he says?
I try to be nice to him when he starts being nice too.
And there we go. And that's how we do it. Okay. Carlos family, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. You definitely have inspired not only us here on the panel, but to all of our viewers here that have tuned into INC Radio Central Valley, California. So let's give a round of applause, everyone, to the Carlos
Yay,
family for
thank
joining us on the
Thank you
show.
Mark, can I just say one comment over here from our beloved whether our district minister. I'm not done closing the show, I slipped. Hello to all brethren of Central Valley, California. Keep supporting INC Radio every Friday. There you go. Thank you, Paul, Isaias. Thank you. All right, back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Melvin, and thank you, Isaias, for supporting us as always. And so now we want to go ahead and thank our INC Radio Station Manager, Brother Wally Tarai, to our CEBSI President and CFO Coordinator, Brother Angelo Arano Vimanalo, and of course, to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Vimanalo, for all that you do for the church. We thank you for approving shows like this and to be able to share our experiences and to help others too in becoming more united with the aims and efforts of the church administration. And so with that being said, this is yet another episode of INC Radio, Central Valley, California. We hope that you tuned in for more as we continue to have more episodes every Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on Valley Grow, where conversations feel like home. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye. Have a